Hi guys and gals, James Stacey here with another aBlogtoWatch video review. Today we're taking a look at the Ancon X-35 Concept. Those of you who are pretty deep into the microbrew kind of indie diver scene online will likely recognize the name Ancon. They make a line of very masculine, kind of tough military style dive watches. And with the X-35 Concept, they've gone in a completely different direction, opting to use that kind of big masculine kind of chunky case with a much more avant-garde sort of dial design. What you're looking at here is 46 millimeters wide, 16 millimeters tall. It's a PVD steel case. It is a very nice PVD treatment, especially at this price point. You're looking at a 56 millimeter lug to lug and a total weight of 156 grams on this included 24 millimeter rubber strap, which has a matching PVD buckle. You get a sapphire crystal up front. You have a display case back in the rear. I'm not sure what material that is made of, whether it's sapphire or mineral. The X-35 Concept is 200 meter water resistant, and you do get drilled lugs, so it should be a good watch to kind of swap in other straps. Undoubtedly, some of you will be looking at the X-35 Concept saying, hey, you know what? I've actually seen that dial somewhere else. And you're about 92% right. Most of this dial design is, in many ways, a direct copy of what you can find on the SevenFriday P1 line. Obviously not the case and the bezel, this being round, the P1 being square. But the overall kind of design of the dial is one that we've seen on SevenFriday, and it is going to be kind of the main talking point for a piece like this, is how much this dial looks like the design of the SevenFriday P1. That's not a bad thing, but it uses the exact same movement as the SevenFriday, and it has a nearly identical dial design, so it's going to be the kind of thing that watch nerds are going to notice, and is going to bother some and isn't going to bother others. Ultimately, that would be for you to decide, and by all means, share in the comments what you think. But beyond the dial design, the overall platform is different than the P1. It's a larger watch, even though the P1 is fairly large. And you also get a a circular case and long lugs, and more of kind of a sport diver aesthetic. Even kind of get a little taste of Linda Verdlin in the bezel and crown design and such. The movement used in the Ancon X-35 is the Miyota 82S7. It's one of their entry-level movements. You're looking at a day-night display here. You get running seconds, small seconds display, between 4 and 5, which I can show you in greater detail in a moment. 21 joule movement, 42-hour power reserve, no hacking. It's an entry-level movement from Miyota. Same as the one used by SevenFriday to basically offer the very similar design. If we take a bit of a closer look at the dial here, we'll get a clearer image of the dial itself. And I have really just a couple of issues with the design, which I do think is fun and offers an aesthetic that isn't available at this price outside of something like a SevenFriday or the Ancon. You do kind of get that kind of avant-garde design that's found in watches costing as much as cars and houses. I do think that the dial text, where it says X-35 Concept, and more specifically rotor self-winding 200 meters, I think that's just goofy. It's unnecessary. The watch would look better without it. You could make the overall scale of all the measures probably a little bit bigger. If it's simply used to fill space due to the reality of movement constraints and hands and things like that, then so be it. But I think it would be a better looking watch without it. I don't really like all the dial text. But my biggest complaint about the X-35 is I don't find it to be especially legible. Right now it's indicating something like 10:31, 10:32. Your hours are red on this red hand, your minutes on this kind of elongated but matched color minutes hand, and then the seconds on a two-sided display here at but 4:30. So you don't get a reliable seconds display, which maybe isn't a big issue because, of course, the watch doesn't have hacking. But I do find that in normal light, on wrist sort of situations, this is a watch that's very hard to read in anything other than ideal lighting. And then in low light or no light, there's no lume, so it's illegible. I think the design is a little flawed in that capacity. I think that for the X-35, they could have used color to a greater contrast and made it a lot easier to be able to tell what time it is. You know, I think it's a really cool watch, and it is definitely going to appeal to some buyers. You know, the truth is I just found it hard to read while it was on wrist, which I can show you now. With the X-35 on my roughly 7-inch wrist, you can see what I mean for the size and the bulkiness. I think this is a certain aesthetic that people do or don't like in watches. I prefer my watches thinner than this, and most definitely smaller lug to lug than this. I have a, I would say a medium-sized wrist, and this fits, and the watch is perfectly comfortable. I actually really enjoy wearing it. It's not uncomfortable. It's not too heavy. It feels like a big dive watch, which is something that I'm very used to. The crown is also excellent, and I really like the use of color here, kind of where the bezel meets the case. The strap I think is kind of hit or miss. It's really good in the summer. I think this would work really well on a nice leather strap, and if possible, maybe one that lowers in thickness as you get to the tail, which might buy you back a little bit of space. All things considered, the Ancon X-35 is an interesting watch that offers a lot for its $699 price tag. You can have red, yellow, green, blue, or orange for the accent colors. You get a nice Miyota automatic movement that should be easy to service in the future. Yes, at 46 millimeters, I think it's a little big for my taste, and the legibility is a bit of a problem. But if you want a legible watch, buy a dive watch, buy a field watch. The Ancon's kind of serving a different purpose. It's a lot of style, it's a cool aesthetic, and I think it's a successful overall design from Ancon. For aBlogtoWatch, my name is James Stacey. Thanks very much for watching.